Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Marvel's Runaways, Season 1, Episode 1. It is called Reunion. Because it's the first episode, we will start spoiler free, and we will give you warning about halfway through before we go into heavy plot details. And yeah, so we'll talk about this. This is the new Hulu Marvel show. So this is kind of notable in that it's kind of the first time in a while, because obviously we had S.H.I.E.L.D. and we had Agent Carter that kind of roughly connected to that, right? Because they were both on ABC. But then since then, it's been nothing but the Netflix stuff. So this was kind of exciting in the sense that it was like a Marvel show that was like a completely new breeding ground. It was like completely fresh. Like, what was it going to be like? What was it going to feel like? What was the quality going to be like? What was the tone going to be like? All these things. So it's based on a comic book, obviously, by Brian K. Vaughan, which was it was his brainchild when he did this about 10 or so years ago, maybe 15 tops.
It was a while, yeah.
But the premise is pretty simple. It's basically six kids discover that their parents are villains or super villains in the Marvel universe, and as the title would imply, they're going to run away, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. I did read the first trade, the first 6 issues or so, about 8 years ago, so I do not remember really any of it, which is fine because I quite like watching this and not knowing much. But
It's more than I've read. I've never read a single issue, or I don't think I've seen them pop up on a single event. Anything, nothing. I don't think I've ever seen them in a comic.
I don't think they integrate too much with the rest. Like I think some of them have, but it's mostly a pretty standalone thing, at least
Yeah,
from my understanding of it. Like whenever it's recommended, it's like no, you don't read the rest of the newer Runaway stuff. No, you read the original Brian K. Vaughan set, and
and
that's
that's
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of those.
which should hopefully make for a solid season or two, depending on how long that run was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there we go. So that is kind of the idea. So, I suppose I'll ask the question. Did you enjoy the first episode?
I think it has promise. I think it. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it because it's a lot of just here's this character, just figuring out who they are.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say it's like, oh, I enjoyed this, but I think that there's enough there that I can see myself enjoying it in the future.
Hmm. I think I'm a nudge more positive than you, and I would say I did enjoy it. And I think
Okay.
I think what was working for me early on is that even though it's dealing with a lot of typical things, because the plot of this episode is basically we find out that someone in the group of friends, these six characters were friends, and there was another one, Nico, who's one of the characters, her sister Amy. From context, you think I'm summing up one of the characters, Alex. He's kind of the main kid with the glasses. He seems to have been dating her, just from context of the way he talks about the way he seems to feel about her,
Yeah.
and Nico's the bigger sister or little sister. I'm not actually sure which way around. I don't
I don't
doesn't matter
think they
yet.
ever. I'm
Yeah,
not sure they even told us.
but Amy's been gone for 2 years, and we don't actually know and what the context is. We assume she's dead because they mention a funeral later on, but beyond that, we don't know how she
Yeah.
died, why she died, anything like that. And it's 2 years later, and we get the impression that he's been kind of a loner since then. They've all kind of fallen apart. They've not really talked to each other. And the plot of this episode, for the most part, is him kind of after some prodding from his parents to ask them all over and like kind of like rekindle their friendship a little bit. So he goes around. So we're dealing with a lot of high school stuff. We're dealing with him going around high school, and they all kind of fit into kind of archetypes in a sense. You've got someone who's a bit of a jock. You got someone who's a bit of a goth. You got someone who's a bit of whatever. And so it's dealing with a lot of really sort of typical things, but I think what really struck me early on is that it has a sense of style. It wasn't just content with just doing typical network TV framing. There was a good pace to it. I never felt like it was, and it's funny because obviously Punisher just started, and we've been kind of down on that. We've not been in love with it, and I'll say this for sure. I like this first episode of The Runaways more than any of the episodes of Punisher that I've watched so far.
I'll agree with that, but I've not said I've enjoyed any of those episodes at all. So
Sure, but like, I think just in the just right away the pacing's much better. Part of it probably helps that you've got six characters or six main characters that we all have to introduce and get to know. And I think it does a good balanced job of juggling all of them in this episode. I didn't really feel like anyone more than anyone else got more of their share.
no, I don't think so.
But it was kind of fair in that sense. I also feel like they're all to some extent likable. Some more than others, depending on what they're like.
Yeah, definitely.
But like none of them were like, because even though like the jock who's arguably supposed to be the most unlikable one to begin with, even he's kind of like, oh, he's the jock, but I can kind of tell he's probably going to have a heart of gold later, and like there's going to be more to him down the line. He's not annoying or anything like that.
There's moments in this episode where, okay, he's kind of the dick at times, but then there's points where it's like, okay, no, there's a line. He's not a bad guy.
Yeah, I think it's well cast. I think he's the sort of character that if you just cast slightly more one way or the other, he could be really irritating.
Yeah,
better to the cast. And I feel like all the kids are pretty good, which is good because they're the main characters. They should be strong. And from this first episode, I feel like they can carry the show quite comfortably.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. They're pretty solid.
So no, I was getting a lot of vibes from this that I liked. Certainly, the entire episode kind of like we mentioned they find out their villains are super villains, or the parents are super villains. That kind of only strikes right at the very end of the episode. Which was kind of apparent. Like, once it got going, I was like, okay, we're just building up to that at the very end of this episode.
And that's fine. It's like you say, you kind of after 5-10 minutes, you go, okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
And
because in the comic, it certainly didn't take that long. I don't think. From what I vaguely, I mean, it might have been the end of the first issue, but an issue of a comic's a lot shorter than an episode of a TV show. So, I certainly don't recall him going around having to convince everyone to come over. I don't recall that from the comic. I think that's a new thing. That said, that'll be the end of my comparisons to the comic because that's about all I'm going to remember. But I specifically didn't remember that. I remembered it getting into the finding the parents doing something nasty, like much quicker. But I actually don't have a problem with that. I feel like they did a.
I agree. I think you had to set up who the characters were because. I mean, I'm struggling to remember all their names because there's just a handful of new names thrown at me. But I have a fairly good grasp on who each of them are, at least at a core level.
Yeah, and I think that I want to congratulate the balance of, okay, they're all kind of archetypical enough that I can sort of say, okay, that's the goth and that's the jock. But they're also deep enough that I don't just feel that they're just two-dimensional.
Just that, yeah.
They all have a little bit more of that. There was just a little bit of the montage early on of them all getting ready for school and stuff. I particularly liked because it was, again, it had that sort of style. It likes to do a lot of like close-up handheld, so there's a lot of like shaky kind of camera.
Yeah.
I like to do that, and I like that because it's kind of that. It gives it a bit of energy, and it kind of feels like that adolescent kind of uncertainty.
I like it at times. There were times where I didn't like the school where it did it on just showing us the school sign, like the name of the school, and it did the handheld little zoom where the adjustment of the lens. And I was like, yeah, I really didn't need that just for that.
Maybe overdid it a couple of times. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I
like it when it's with the characters, just not on the locations.
I think it stuck out to me because I feel like one of the problems I had with Punisher, and one of the problems I have with more specifically network TV at times, is just how sort of bland it's shot. And part of that's just because of the schedule they have to shoot. They have to churn out so many episodes that a lot of the regular scenes, if it's not a specific action scene, they'll typically just do something really simple and traditional. Whereas here I was feeling like right from the get-go, because we have this opening scene of this girl getting off a bus, and she's a runaway, not one of the runaways, but she's a runaway, and she's in the city and she's kind of dangerous. These guys kind of harass her, and then this cult kind of picks her up. But through that whole scene, like I was getting a sense of they're giving this a mood, like I'm feeling atmosphere, which is something that I think could have very, very easily they could have went full CW with this.
Oh yeah, very easily.
And I don't think they did. I think they kind of had a nice line where, okay, we're going to have teenage things, we're going to have those archetypes, we're going to play with those ideas, but it's not just going to develop, into love triangle.
I can see this episode on the CW. I can see exactly what it'd be.
Yeah. I mean, there's one or two moments where it maybe got a little on the nose with a couple of things, but for the most part, I was quite into it, and I like the mystery they're building with what some of the characters can do, because they kind of tease that some of them are going to have abilities of some kind.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the teases of that. So I think, obviously I'm bad with names, but in terms of, like you say, characteristics and personalities, I kind of remember who they all are already. So
yeah, and I think that's why you had to wait to tell us about the parents. I think you got to go, tell us who these are first and why they're going to care.
I think it also works as well because we get a little bit of time with each of the parents, and they're all different. And some of them seem like good parents, some of them seem like hard asses, but some of them, but they all kind of feel like
I like how the parents are kind of going through the same thing. How the kids are talking about reconnecting after a couple of years. That's kind of their thing. The parents are kind of doing the same thing where they're all from these different backgrounds. They're all very different people, and they feel like they've not been together in a while. And it's like, okay, we're doing this again.
But they're getting together for their charity event discussion.
Yes. The
fundraiser discussion, I think it was. They're planning something like that. That's the cover story. Yeah. So cast good, characters good, which is good because that's kind of the bulk of this episode is just building the characters. But it works. I never felt like it was going slow. I never felt like it was dragging its feet. And it's given that I feel like Punisher's been doing that constantly for like 70% of its runtime after 4 episodes. I'm actually really happy to watch a show that's.
It was moving. It was doing something.
And everything felt like it was relevant to what was going on, or it felt like it was going to be relevant later at the very least. Like everything felt like it was building character, and it felt like it was doing things. And they all had unique voices. They didn't just feel like they were blank sheets of paper. So I applaud that. I like the music. Music was pretty good.
Yeah, there was some really nice synth stuff in the latter half.
I was liking the music. I was liking the kind of like. I'm trying to think how to describe this. Almost like hazy teenage dream kind of sound the music had. There's uncertainty.
I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Proper musical terms.
I mean, I could put that in musical terms, but that would be pointless because it would just be too musical.
1% of the audience would understand and what you said.
It sounds like they're getting rid of a lot of the thirds, which is the defining characteristic of a chord to be like whether it's positive or negative, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more ambiguous. It's kind of a lot more unsettled in that sense.
Yeah. Sure.
There you go.
Is it adding in sevenths and stuff? Are we doing
there'll be sevenths.
Sevenths, okay.
Yeah.
I liked a good minor 7 when I was playing guitar.
Yeah, see, this is it. You wouldn't. There's not many minor or major of anything in this. It's a lot of just, without the thirds.
Okay. Maybe we'll get more solid majors as we get more hopeful as the kids find themselves.
When we get some heroism, I'd expect to see more of those major fifths come in.
Yeah. Before we talk about spoiler things, I dug it. I was into it. I'm looking forward to checking out the second episode, which, by the way, will be coming probably tomorrow because Hulu, in their tradition, have put the first 3 episodes out at the same time. So we'll be doing 2 and 3 over the next couple of days.
They make it a scheduling nightmare, the bastards, because they don't warn us.
Yeah, they just
do it.
Although after this and Handmaid's Tale, now I'm expecting it every time.
Yeah.
At least for season 1s.
We're planning for 3.
Yeah, at least for season 1s, I'm planning for it now.
I'm going to get a criticism out of the way in this section now, because it's not a real criticism, but it was something that bothered me. And just before I say it's a criticism, is this set present day?
Can I guess what this is going to be? Just the genre of the complaint.
Go on.
Is this about a video game?
It is. Is this set present day?
I think so. Why?
Did you recognise that video game?
With a Call of Duty or something? I don't know.
No. That was Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh,
the
was
2015 one. The one that was released, just over 2 years ago today.
Oh, this is a stupid complaint.
I know, but it bugged me because I was like, look, if you're going to do this, you're going to have the dad come in and go, I haven't seen you on that in a while, in a long time. And it's like, last login 2 years ago. And it's like, did they play this game like opening week and that's it? Like, pick a different game.
This is the mother of all nitpicks.
Not a real complaint, but it really bothered me because it was so easy that they could have fixed it.
Joe, it's funny you say that actually because I saw the PS4 controller and I went, 2 years? Bullshit. And then I went, oh no, PS4's been out for like 4 years now. God damn it, time's moving too fast.
Yeah. I checked on this one. I was like, I know it was 2015. I was like, when was it? It was the 17th of November. I was like, nah.
Also,
bullshit on that one.
Chase, the jockey character, his dad is played by James Masters, who you might remember from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I was wondering how long that'd take you.
He played Spike, just in case you didn't know.
God, you're a prick.
Alright, let's talk about spoilers. Full spoilers then for episode 1 of the Runaways, or just Runaways, not like that. Although that Runaways sounds okay as well, to be honest. They could have called it The Runaways. That'd be cool.
I think I always think of it as The Runaways.
So, Yeah, so we have essentially the characters all turn him down. They basically laugh in his face when he says, "Let's get together," and he has to. It kind of like it basically gives up. He has a couple of emotional moments. He talks to Nico, and he's like, "Hey, I miss you." And you could tell this was the hardest one for him to do. Like everyone else was, yeah, it was tough, but this one was harder because it's Amy's sister. And she like pretends she can't hear him. She's got her earphones in and she kind of taps them to imply that she can't. But we hear that she actually doesn't turn it on until after. And I'm like, that was emotional. And she ends up crying in the bathroom with
Carolina.
Carolina, I would say.
Carolina.
I wouldn't say Alina. I'd say
Oh,
Carolina.
I know a Carolina. You see. So.
Okay. But she's in the bathroom crying because people are making fun of the fact that her mother runs this cult, this new age cult where they all have bracelets and talk
They're
about
not really
happiness.
calling it a cult. They're calling it a church.
It's a
But
cult.
it's a cult.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm the guy who will happily refer to all religion as cults, but whatever.
Yeah, but when they're small enough, you can get away with it.
Potato, potato. So she's upset. Everyone's making fun of her, and she wants to rebel. In fact, she ends up talking to the girl that we saw from the start of the episode because we see that she's in the cult now, and she's like, "Hey, you said you used to rebel. Can you tell me how to do that?"
Well, that was a little bit. There's a few bits of dialogue where I thought, okay, a bit on the nose, a bit over the top. That was one of them.
That one didn't bother me. There was a line that bothered me a lot in the trailer, and I remember talking about this in the news at the time, and I said, "Oh, maybe it'll be fine in context," and it wasn't. But luckily, it was only like that and one other line that bothered me, really. So,
Yeah, no, there was only a couple. This was one of them. It was the way, she comes up and was like, "Oh, tell me about it," and she's like, going on about her mom. It's like, no, not that.
It's basically
How to rebel.
It's basically trying to be witty, and most of the time it succeeds. There's just one or two times where it comes off a little bit forced and thing. The line that I'm talking about that I didn't like is when they find the secret passageway, and Alex goes, "This is some Narnia shit." I'm like, "Oh, that's a bad line." That was whoever wrote that deserves to be smacked. I'm sorry, that was a bad line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll tell you what line did crack me up though. Was when Gert. That's it. I knew it was something.
You were so close. You're just one letter away.
Yeah, I can't want to say Garrett, but yeah, Garrett. Garrett and Molly are getting dropped off at school, and their parents are talking to them. And Molly's got cramps, and our mother just starts talking about menstruation because she's at that age where she's just kind of getting them for the first time. And she drops a line at one point where she says, "Oh, and if it gets too bad, go to the bathroom and give yourself an orgasm." And I went, "Whoa, whoa!" And I think what made it even funnier is that I was expecting the dad to like wince in fear at that line, and instead he's just like, "Yeah, listen to your mother. She's got really good advice." I'm like, man, these are wacky parents.
Yeah, you really get that because Molly, when she goes to the nurse later, she's taking the medicine, and she talks about how her parents are all into all this herbs and these sort of natural remedies, and it's like, okay, I'm getting a sense of who those parents are through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you get a sense. Obviously, James Marsters' character, he's like a hard ass dickhead who's like, "You got a C. If you were really scared of me, you'd be getting A's."
Yeah,
doing that. By the way, I know it's his natural accent, but he's better with the English one. Just for the record. Although, not as bad as, not to go on a tangent, but Wesley, who was also on Buffy and Angel, did you ever hear him speak with his actual accent outside of the show? It's creepy. No.
I think I got used to it.
His English accent is way better.
It was on How I Met Your Mother a lot.
Yeah. Well, no, his wife's on there.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Who, funnily enough, was also...
all their significant others were on there.
On the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Alison Hannigan.
Yes, very good. I gave you that one.
Played Willow. I like how I'm pretending that was like this weird connection, but we went to her from someone else who was also on Buffy.
Yeah. That's just cheap.
Yeah, so you get a sense of the parents and like all different ones. And yeah, we have like not 5 parents obviously because some of them are couples, but we have 5 sets of parents because we have 2 of the kids are siblings. So we don't have 6 sets, but so we get a sense of them, we get a sense of the characters, and I actually Molly might be an early like dark horse for my favorite. The fact that the little younger one has super strength is going to be fantastic, I think. I I especially like the very Lois and Clark Superman handprints in the van that she pushed back.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That said, Carolina's power is also pretty cool. Which because they did a little fake it where she goes to this party and you think, oh, it's just the drug, she's hallucinating, and I went, nah, I bet this is actually her power.
No, it was. I think it was pretty clear because it was as soon as she took the bracelet off, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so the bracelet's a dampener.
Yeah. And she's her hands light up and it's all it's very psychedelic, which is why it kind of ties into the whole fake out with the drugs. But
Yeah.
it looked really cool, so I'm looking forward to them exploring that. Yeah, Geralt and Molly's parents are doing like tests. They've got like a bunch of birds and pets and stuff, and then behind a big blast door they have a velociraptor.
Yeah. Yeah, why is there a dinosaur in there?
Also, from just previous knowledge, I happen to know that dinosaur is telepathic. Just for the record.
I like this show now.
It's the best show ever, isn't it?
I've gone from I didn't enjoy this to, oh, you're telling me there's a telepathic dinosaur.
I actually told you.
I'm in.
I told you that in the news already.
Yeah, but I forgot clearly.
You've forgotten that.
That was probably a long time ago.
But I'm down. I'm down for the Velociraptor tease. I'm down for it. So I'm really curious as to what if any of the other kids have powers or anything like that. Like,
I mean, one assumes the Nico, was it Nico?
yeah,
It will have some sort of magic abilities.
yeah, she does. In fact, I know they changed part of how she accesses her powers because in the comic she accesses her powers when she self harms, and for obvious reasons they decided to maybe soften that up a bit.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I think they said that there's still going to be something to do with like she needs to give some blood to do it, but it won't be like self harm style.
Just a pinprick.
Yeah, but I can see her cutting her hand maybe. The
Yeah,
like a blood
that's
pack.
very
Kinda.
that's very magic ritual, isn't it?
Yeah, so I can see that working. Obviously, in this episode, she's actually trying to do something. She's trying to talk to her sister or something. She's got like the fire at the beach. Because I like that they're all kind of getting really bad places, and they all decide to just go to the house. Partly because of the photograph he sends out to guilt trip them into it, but also the just the idea that they all end up in really rough places that night, and it's like, oh, I don't want to go home. Let's go there. We were invited, so let's go. So, yeah, and of course, Gert's pissed at Chase, still one of the names, because he had arranged to learn some Spanish from her because she can actually speak Spanish. Like she's fluent in it because she's Hispanic, as opposed to just another kid who's learning it. And she tells she's kind of got a crush on him, which you feel like she probably hates herself for because she's like such a. The show even actually calls her an SJW at one point. Like she's kind of this hard, and there's constantly sort of lines about how she she claims that the other girls aren't feminist, but then she's like, but you put more women down than anyone else. And then so it's set up that she's this hard ass kind of person who's always talking about what she believes in, but she's got a crush on the dumb jock.
Yeah.
I mean,
to
an extent.
It's a classic trope, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, you can see that there's different stuff it's playing with, but I think what ultimately sold me that I think I'm going to like this show is at the end when they do show up and they're all together. It felt the way it was dealing with the whole pain of them all splitting up, and like I actually thought there was a lot of natural dialogue, and it felt kind of like when they brought up, oh, but we're only friends because our parents are all friends. Like we're going to split up eventually anyway.
Yeah,
like,
I've been there.
Fairly normal, and like they bring up a lot of cool little things. We learn that Alex never went to the funeral, so obviously we'll find out about that later.
Yeah,
and just all little touches like that, and I think it did a good job of like starting us in the middle of kind of like an emotional story to sort of let us unpack later. But there's enough of it we understand to like drive sort of where they are right now and how they feel.
Yeah, I think it would have been easy to start this 2 years ago and then flash forward. And I'm really glad they didn't.
Yeah, it would surprise me if we got a flashback episode during the season, but I'm glad they started it this way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was all good. And obviously they end up sneaking off. Chase wants booze, and that's how they end up finding the secret chamber. And they witness the girl who was from the opening, get basically sacrificed. She's into this sort of like sarcophagus almost that's full of light. And young Molly, bless her, I like her, but she's a bit of an idiot here, and she takes a photo with a flash, which alerts the parents to the presence of someone. They don't know who it is, but there's they know someone's been there. At the end of the episode, that's how we end. But I was kind of into it. I really enjoyed the first episode.
I mean, like I said, I wouldn't say I quite enjoyed it because it was just okay, character, but it
Yeah.
was essential, and I can see promise. I think I'll enjoy it going forward once I get into what it actually is.
And I think Hulu's strategy of doing the first three together actually is kind of what benefits this almost, because
Because I know I can go on to the next one. I don't have to wait a week to get the next
exactly,
part. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think they do this on purpose. I think they plan for it. And I remember this with Handmaid's Tale as well. They kind of felt like a trilogy
yeah.
to set it up.
And I think it's not that different to like a double pilot, or
It's not.
to start
It's
things
just
off.
one extra. The real problem is when you get like, and then you realize, okay, now I've got to go back to one a week.
Yeah, that was the one problem it has with Tale, is it suddenly felt like, oh no, now it's a week between
And then it got
episodes.
to the end, and it was like, hang on, we've only been doing this for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that
What's
said,
happened?
this has a few more episodes. This has 13, so this won't end as quickly. But, and it's funny actually, because we were complaining about how Punisher has 13 episodes and it's clearly stretched out, and a lot of the Marvel Netflix stuff feels that way. After an episode, at least it's only been one episode, this could change, but after one episode I feel quite confident that they're not going to have this feeling stretched. If anything, I feel like it'll be more like a good network show, in the sense where there may be one or two duds that are relatively standalone, but as a whole it won't feel like they're stretched everything out to...
No, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm confident in that. I think by its nature, this first episode kind of avoided any of those pitfalls because it's the introduction. So once it kickstarts into the plot, it could potentially, lose that
Also,
pacing.
I'm talking complete bullshit, it's only 10 episodes.
Oh, okay, all right, fine. You do that, you prick.
Well, less of a chance of them dragging things out then, isn't there?
It is. That said, that is amusing because IMDb is telling me 13.
Maybe it's 30. Wikipedia is telling me 10.
We have
God damn it.
alternative information.
Oh damn it, I don't know. And the funny thing is that the opposite happened with The Gifted, where we thought it was 10, and then we got to about this week, and it's like, oh, by the way, it's 13. I was like, oh, okay, there's another 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But regardless, no, I think this is promising. And in fact, if I'm comparing it to other new Marvel shows, I think episode 1 of this was stronger than episode 1 of The Gifted as well.
Yeah, probably.
So, I'm feeling good about it right now. I feel like maybe this will be my teen show going, because, I kind of, I've not really watched Riverdale since the weird shirtless football team ending of one of the episodes this season. Maybe this will become the teen show that I enjoy. And so far, I'm digging the vibe that it's given me. And I like the characters, so...
Yeah, it's a good start.
Yes, so we will be back, should be tomorrow, I think, with episode 2. And episode 3 soon after, maybe another day, maybe 2 days after 2 for episode 3, but it'll all be this week. And obviously we'll be going weekly after that, assuming it doesn't tank in the next 2 episodes. Which
It could.
It could go from this to feeling like Iron Fist next episode.
That's the thing. Like this is why I said I was, not ready to commit to the pacing thing over the 13, like you were saying, is because this one by its nature was just okay. This is standalone. Once we get started and actually do it, it could just drag all of it. It could just stretch the rest of it out. I don't think it will, but it could.
My argument against that cynicism would be that the people who would drag out the rest of it would somehow make this episode feel like it's also dragging.
Probably.
Case in point, there was like the last 2 Punishers we did. I said I think another team doing these episodes, I'd probably really like them. But on this show, with the way they handle things, they are tedious.
I agree.
So
and it's why I'm relatively confident as well. Just aware that it could.
Well, on that vote of confidence, I will end this by saying, yes, I liked it quite a bit. I'm looking forward to the rest, just to have a positive note, because Connor always seems to want to put a negative thing on at the end. No, shut up!
Wasn't
You're
negative.
done. You're done, right? Done. Ending positive.
That was pretty positive. I said I'm fairly confident.
That was tacked on to the rest of it where you were given worries and fears. But anyway, that is Runaways episode 1, and we will be back with episode 2. So thank you very much for watching. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, over at patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can do that over there. Like, subscribe, all that usual stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?